Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wally DM. Today our adventuring party is infiltrating the Order of the Red Steel Cult. They are presented with a corridor that is 50 foot long, and on either side of them are several ironclad statues with weapons that represent fallen heroes of the cult. Now, as the party walks about halfway down the corridor, the fighter that is leading the party steps on a pressure plate, and the entire corridor, including the statues, comes alive and activates a trap. Now, today's trap video is actually part of a Kickstarter by Windmill Slam Games, and you can download this chapter for free by visiting the Kickstarter page. I'll put a link below. So today we're going to take a look at part of that chapter of the Order of the Red Steel, and this trap is called the Hall of Trials. Just a reminder, if you have not joined our Discord yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Come on over and hang out with me and folks that know a lot about D&D. And if you like the content on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and pick up my brand new puzzle book, Wally DM's Journal of Puzzle Encounters, available now on DriveThruRPG. So our adventuring party has infiltrated the Order of the Red Steel. They go through this door here and enter this corridor. They immediately notice a few things. First off, we have torches on the left and the right on the northern section, and torches on the left and the right of the southern section. And immediately as they come in to their right, they're going to see a air vent. And this air vent has a continuous flow of air coming out of it, and it has a soft but audible whiny noise. Now, the main feature of this 50-foot long corridor are the 12 iron-bound wooden statues of humanoid warriors that line the walls on either side. Now, if our characters have a passive perception of at least 16, or take the time to examine the hall, they're going to notice that these statues have segmented limbs and mobile joints, and making them more like mannequins or constructs than immobile statues. Now again, this is a trap, and this trap is activated by these 4 pressure plates. So if our characters decide to come down the corridor, and our leading adventurer, our knight, steps on this pressure plate, then the trap is active, and we're going to ask everyone to roll for initiative. Now this is a bit of a complex trap, and each part of the trap is divided into 4 zones. We have zones A, B, C, and D. Zone A is going to activate on initiative count 25, and the rest of them on initiative count 15. Let's take these step by step. Assuming that none of the characters rolled higher than a 25, then the first thing that's going to happen is from this vent is going to be a blast of scorching heat. And what this blast is going to do is anyone in Zone A, which is currently our wizard, is going to take 2d6 of fire damage and needs to make a DC 13 Constitution saving throw or be knocked prone from the blast. For demonstrations of this puzzle, we're going to assume that our wizard made the saving throw. Now the second thing that this blast of heat is going to do is it's going to extinguish all flames and lanterns through the length of the corridor. Now this blast of hot air also has a dispel magic laced within it, so if anyone is using a light cantrip to light their way through there, it's also going to extinguish any type of magical light. So that is initiative count 25 for Zone A, and the way that I'm going to run this trap is every time the initiative comes up for Zone A, this blast of hot scorching air is going to come out through the vent. But with regards to sections B, C, and D, they're only going to activate once. So on initiative count 15, that is when they come to life, and rounds after the first round, the 15 will have no value to the trap. So let's say our archer rolls an initiative of 18 and they see that everything is starting to come to life. They feel the hot air behind them, and she decides to make a run for it. So she's going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 and uses all of her movement to successfully get to the end of the corridor. Now unfortunately, the rest of the party rolled under a 15 for initiative, so now the trap is activated. Now all 3 sections have something different going on. So in section B, these are axe warriors that begin flailing their great axes, trying to chop down on anything that's going through it. Section D has blacksmiths with mauls as they try to smash anything coming through here. And section C are screaming warriors that have open mouths, and they are wielding spears but don't seem to be moving their spears. Now we'll get to the rest of these sections in just a little bit. So let's say that our knight is next in the turn order. He's going to be allowed a perception check. If he makes a perception of 13 or higher, he's going to notice that this toxic fumes are coming out of these statues. Now, if he ends his turn within here, or if any of the other characters end their turn in section C, then they're going to take 2d6 poison damage from the toxic fumes of these statues. Now, as the characters navigate this corridor, it's important to realize that this is now all difficult terrain, meaning that they only get half of their movement. So with that in mind, our 30-foot movement knight now has 15. He's going to go 5, 10, 15, and he's going to end his turn in section D. Now, any characters that end their turn within this zone needs to make a dexterity saving throw with a DC of 13, or they're going to be smashed by the statues for 2d6 of bludgeoning damage. Also, when it becomes our knight's turn again, if they try to leave this zone, so on the next turn if they try to make movement to get to safety, then they are going to need to make an acrobatics check or an athletics check with a DC 13, or else they're going to be knocked prone by these statues. So let's come back up to section B. This is the Axe Warriors section, and our druid tries to run out of here. He goes 5 foot and then tries to exit this zone, and when he does, he needs to make an athletics or an acrobatics check to try to dodge the attacks of the statues. We are going to say at this time he fails, and if he fails this saving throw, then he is going to be knocked prone and his turn's going to end. Now it's our wizard's turn in the initiative, and we're going to allow him a DC 15 perception check, and he's going to see these statues in zone B have a pattern to their swings. So if he makes this perception check, let's say he does, then he is going to get advantage on all saving throws or ability checks for as long as he's in zone B. So our wizard makes that, enters into here, and after coming into 5 feet and watching the patterns of the swings of this part of the trap, he decides to use Misty Step as a bonus action, and that is a spell that allows him to teleport 30 feet. So he then speaks his incantation of the spell, and he teleports to the end of the hallway to safety. Now we are back to the top of the initiative order, and again another scorching blast is going to come through zone A, and it's going to knock out any type of artificial or magical light. That brings us to our knight. Our knight is going to try to exit, and as he tries to exit zone D, he needs to make an acrobatics or an athletics check to try to dodge these statues. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he made the DC 13 or higher, and he is able to exit this zone into safety. So the only one left is our poor druid, who needs to take an action to come out of the prone position and try to make his way down the hallway. Now, of course, the cult members of the Order of the Red Steel are going to need to be able to go up and down this corridor without triggering the trap. So there are actually 2 ways to disable this trap, and they can be found, one in the north, one in the south. So if our characters come over here and find this torch and take a look at it, they'll see that they can pull it down like a lever. And when they pull it down like a lever, I'm going to give them a 5 to 10 second timer, and they are able to run through this corridor without triggering the trap. Once the 10 seconds is expired, the torch will move back up and the trap is set again. The second way, let's say our wizard Misty Steps to the end, or the characters are coming back this way, is these 2 statues here have arms that can be moved at a 45-degree angle. So moving the arms of one of these statues will also disable the trap. Now this was a very simple demonstration of the trap. This is actually a lot more complex, and there's all kinds of different things that characters could do. Anything from in Zone A blocking the vent, to Zone C where they can stuff rags into the mouths of the statues, or to simply hack and slash and try to disable the statues themselves. But you can find those in the PDF, and I will put a link to where you can get that in the description below. So that is the Hall of Trials. And again, that is a trap that is part of the Order of the Red Steel chapter that you can find in the Monsters and Magic, the Book of Cults, and that is a Kickstarter by Windmill Slam Games. And if you'd like to download that for free, you can do so. I'll put a link in the description below. Now with that in mind, I really like it, and I think it can be a lot of fun. You can make it a little bit easier for the characters by instituting the odd and even sections of zones B and D and zones A and C as outlined in the trap, or you can make it harder by doing what I did and just make the entire trap active at once. You could have that screen or that vent blowing out hot air the entire time, and you could also have it with that dispel magic, just make it an anti-magic field. However you feel best works for your game. So that's all I have for you today. What did you think of the trap? Is this something that you could use in your game? And if so, what would you do differently? And don't forget to head on over and support this project on Kickstarter and get the free download of the Order of the Red Steel Adventure. Thanks again to Windmill Slam Games for allowing me to present this trap on my channel. I appreciate everyone watching, and on to the next.